All right, I am here, and I'm going to be continuing screwdrivers. Crammy, welcome. Mateus, welcome. Good morning. So, as for moving forward in screwdrivers, I believe we have found some very interesting... We have made some interesting discoveries in terms of what is possible using rotational energy. I subscribed to this yesterday. Someone just posted this. Let me check on the workshop so I can shout them out. Someone made I don't know if it's gonna work. Gedis Rectus is their name on Steam. This is just posted. Q for landing gear, WS up and down, A and D for steering, air control on numpad. It's just called UFO. Oh, this is crazy. What? Wait, it's just got one propeller. Wait, it says... Oh, weird. It just starts like banking. Oh, look inside. It has like two things that are rotating. Yeah, it just starts rotating randomly once I reach a certain altitude. I can't actually control it. I may not actually build this. I did want to check it. Yeah, we don't have enough. We don't have enough because there's so many pieces. I could check that in creative mode, but I do want to stay in career mode. I do like the idea of having some type of limitation. What happened to the drone? Wait, which are you talking about, the UFO? The Mayfly Mark III is what we were working on yesterday. I did modify the side wings because they were bothering me, and I found a little bit of a cleaner way to kind of let me make sure. Okay, my game audio is still working. Sometimes when I plug my controller in, it'll actually silence the game audio. I had it like this before, and I modified it after stream just to demonstrate clearly why. Like we had it like this before. Each one of these pins is 1 kilogram. Turn connectors 2. And then we upgraded it to be like this, which is just, it's cleaner. This is a proper use of the hinge connector 2 with the axis, as far as I can tell. And it's much easier to extend out. So we made that modification after the stream. And then I started messing with, which one is the center one? Here. We started messing with going as far as we possibly can with this design concept, which, as you can imagine, gets into some interesting stuff, because I'm finding these alternating propellers are, it's just awesome. Like I really enjoy looking I just really enjoy looking at the propellers alternate. And if you're wondering why we have those giant, those long shark fins sticking out the side, that is for mid-air maneuverability. So there is something in the magical force of the game that increases the more shark fins you have, the farther away from the center of mass you get. Now, why? I don't know. But that is resulting in this design where we are going for a very good balance of maneuverability and power. And I've gone from using my keyboard and mouse to a controller thanks to Truss for demonstrating that, yes, if you make your engines W and S, you can use your trigger I'm pretty sure any controller will have it mapped to like right trigger or left trigger. And then as for rotation, D and A will map it to your if you have two analog sticks, it maps it to the other analog stick. It's very, very good. And then I started working on the Jester. So Truss demonstrated that you can indeed get it even closer. So this design right here, like, this is the best angle to view exactly what I'm talking about. This design right here is something that I found as a workaround to the fact that this does not rotate. So the way that hinge connectors work as intended is that you can see it here, right? Like, you have a hinge connector that has an axis like this, right? So you plug an axis into this and you expect it to rotate, right? If you have a, say, an engine, electrics like that, you'd expect this to rotate. To make it even clearer, let's just use a 4 just for demonstration purposes, right? You would expect that to rotate. You can even see how it's like kind of clipping through that hinge connector too, right? You can see that like very clearly. You'd expect that hinge connector to rotate with it, given the shape of the hole for the axis. Just very, very clearly demonstrating it, like why I designed it the way I did. But here's the thing. When you have this set up like this, the hinge connector doesn't rotate when you have it going through. See, we have the same setup right here, right? When you have it going through from an engine, from a motor, into a planetary gear, into a hinge connector, this just doesn't rotate. And I think at this point it's a very well-known bug in the game. Are these 9s? These are just 9s. So I'm demonstrating that because just to really drive home exactly why I designed this way. You need a beam, right, to be the thing that rotates around the axis, even though axis, when they go through beams in the game, do not typically rotate the beam. We are actually using the beam to rotate the wings. Like, the beam is what the wings are actually connected to. And what this allows me to do is I don't need to worry about gear small, gear medium, gear big, gear corner. All I need is the planet gear. That's it. So that's what I found fascinating. And I started modifying it yesterday. And this is what I came up with as for how to continue to be able to use the planet gear without any type of gear small or gear medium, while still working around the hinge connector button. And this thing works. Like this redesign actually works, and it's fascinating because you can make it smaller. It's got a little bit it's very maneuverable. It's not as comfortable as the Mayfly, but it's very maneuverable. Now, here's the thing, and why I'm naming it something different. Because if I understand this correctly, just to demonstrate again with the Jester, if you look very carefully, the hinge connectors aren't moving. But they added that to the game in the last update. The double connector. And that is rotating around the axis in the opposite direction. As to why, I have no idea. But this works. And you can say, okay, why don't you have this lower, right? Why don't you make this lower? I tried to add the connector here, but the wings clip into the planetary gear. It doesn't like it. The one position I want it to be in, it doesn't like, but it's willing to do this. Like, for some reason, it just will not let me. You can clearly tell what position I want it to be in, right? I want it to be completely flipped in that position, but it just, if I go through all of the right click options, these are the only things I get. So determined that yes, we need to raise it up one in order to fit the wing in. Like so. And what that also allows for is like this is the profile of this engine. So the wings are connected. What is this called exactly? The connector double. So they added this in the recent update, and I found it fascinating. Fascinating that this thing rotates around the axis in the opposite direction. So if you look at the profile of this thing, right? And then you look at the profile of this thing, you can clearly tell why I went to the extent to modify it. And you could argue that, yeah, if you look at the distance from the planetary gear, you have 1, 2, 3, right? Here you only have 1. So it's lower profile, but you need this axis to be raised 1 higher to allow for the wing to be only 1 unit over from the center. Crammy, you got your first ultimate Lepic part? Nice. Congratulations. Yeah, the ultimate grind in the first Ascendant is definitely a pretty solid end game, honestly. I will be entering that grind myself. I think you said you got all of the you upgraded your Thunder Cage all the way, which I also still need to do. But yes, this is the design I figured out. And if you look very, very carefully, you can see the axis, the planetary gears are rotating in the opposite directions. If you had to explain why, I don't know. I'm not sure the developers know, honestly. But it works. There you go. Boom. You have very responsive, very, very solid, versatile quadcopter. As far as I can tell, between my design and we can add some wings farther back because it wants to do this constantly. Like I have to fight it. It wants to do backflips. We know how to fix that. Majestic, welcome. I see you are using Razer. Wait, what is Razer? I'm wondering. I don't really care about. I don't really care about weight too much. We just need to get these wings farther forward, right? In a mirrored fashion. And yes, I am naming this one the Jester because the Mayfly, the main design, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to a quadcopter in this game, because I'm going for such a simple design, the main change in design are the engines, the structure of the engines. Everything else is like, you just have a frame. This is all the same. This is the same. Identical. But this is different. And this is what's beautiful. Razer Viz, a company that has a program called Cortex that has the same FPS color. FPS color. Interesting. As in first-person shooter? I know what Razer. If you're talking about the company that makes gaming hardware, yes, I know what Razer is. Yes. Yeah, in the top left of the screen, you can see my FPS. Oh, if you're talking about my controller, yes. I mentioned in a previous live stream that I am using a Razer, I think it's like Wolverine or something. Yeah, Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma. That is the controller I'm using. As far as like Razer hardware equipment goes. Indeed. Okay, it's still trying to bank. Like, why is it banking? It's not holding its turn. This is what it's doing constantly. As to why, no idea. Maybe it's because we're exploiting a bug. Yeah, it's like banking to the left. Now, if I crash, see how it's rotating to the right now? If I crash, it janks out entirely. Why that happens, I don't know. I don't know. But it's still banking. And I think what we need is more stability in the front and the back. Because we don't want to have to fight it. We want it to just cruise. If we turn, we want it to hold the turn. Yeah, it wants to do backflips constantly. It's holding its turn a little bit better. Maybe we could double up the wings on the sides to stop it from... Like, if I do, like, this. Center of mass is not in the middle. Well, hold on. We just changed something. Let me balance that out. Yeah, no, that's pretty centered. Given the nature of this, maybe we have to balance that out by doing this, right? Balance it perfectly. Because this we have here to hold the engine, which is not a mirror of itself. It only has one peg. In order for it to be a mirror, it would need a peg on each side. So yes, maybe we do that just to emulate that extra weight. That'll bring it slightly forward, very, very slightly forward. It's difficult to tell in that diagram, but that would throw it off. You are correct. Yeah, still doing it, but less. Now, here's the thing. You can say, oh, you're adding all those wings. It's making it so slow. What about speed? Well, I'm first concerned about maneuverability. The maneuverability of this thing is very good at this point. I am enjoying flying this a lot. Now, it's more stable, for sure. As for flying it well, that's a different story. Yeah, it's still banking slightly. After we crash, it starts to wobble. But we're definitely getting there, for sure. Could probably make this look a little better by just using a 5. As for mass, as far as I can tell, the way that the force generated by the wings actually works, mass doesn't actually play... Given this whole thing, we could probably just go about... simplifying this whole thing. Mass doesn't play as big a role as I think when you're relying on this method of propulsion. What is this distance here? Seven. Oh, it's a 6. And there is no 6 beam. There's no 4 beam and there's no 6 beam. Zero, welcome back. Apologies for missing your previous message. You asked, do you have the reaction wheel weight closer to the props on the Jester? It's within one block. As far as I can tell, it is everything that I did with the Jester. I basically made it 1 unit smaller in like every direction. But regardless of making it smaller, the same question arises, like how maneuverable is it? But yes, I have to answer your question, I have the reaction weight closer to the propellers by 1 unit. I feel like we'll try a row of 3 of these, but it's starting to look kind of jank. Now, I will, after we get the maneuverability and the stability, this is what it looked like before. So definitely looking a little bit more uniform and cleaner. Using the beams, and yes, the beams are heavier, but that's why I was saying earlier, I don't think it's as important as I think it is. The weight of the vehicle, the mass does have an effect, but when it comes to like using downforce to accelerate, I don't think it really cares too much. Like, if you look at the Carbon 1B dragster made by White Dwarf, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And yes, we are using the same method of propulsion as the Carbon 1B dragster. This thing. And yes, is there even downforce on all the propellers? Yes, it's symmetrical. It's very symmetrical. The Jester is getting very close to being extremely stable. Now it's still going back slightly. Well, it wants to flatten out, right? Yeah, we have rotation. I could add a bigger weight. Now that we have more mass away from the center of mass, I will add a 90 kilogram. Yeah, now we have much better rotation, because we're rotating a heavier mass in the center. And yeah, it wants to flatten out. I don't mind the idea of it wanting to flatten out. Like having to kind of battle it to go back down. That's not the worst thing. I'd rather have nose down than nose up. After we crash, it completely janks out. For some reason, after we crash, it just starts rotating around its center of mass. No idea why. No idea. Yeah, as for being good with like fine-tuned controls, I'm not. What you're seeing me do is like overcorrect for every little thing. And that's because this is very, very versatile. Like you can see, like I'm clearly intentionally doing that. I have to be very gentle on the on the sticks so that I'm trying to overcorrect for everything. Or I'm trying to correct for everything, and I'm overcorrecting for everything. That is why you're seeing me like flounder around. Overall, it's very stable. Very, very versatile control. Any type of, I think I'm demonstrating it by doing those backflips pretty well. Here's a front flip, like intentional front flip. There you go. Like that's intentionality. I'm intentionally trying to do that in the moment. And it's got enough power that it doesn't stall out and slam into the ground. Now, here's the question. It's pretty slow. So can we scale up the powertrain while maintaining that level of control and stability? Most importantly, stability, right? Like I want stability. That's what I'm looking for. One of the props is all the way down to 90% efficiency. Yes, given the ratio, well, so they're moving, right? So as long as they're equal, that's all that I care about. This one's 90, this one's 90, this one's 91, this one is 91. So as long as they're symmetrical, that's all I care about. The ones on the end are 100%. Or no, they're all 95. You are correct. Yeah. But here's the next thing. Let me upload this just because every time I press escape, I feel like I'm about to lose the entire build. There is a bug in the game where you'll be working on something, going back and forth from garage to free drive, garage, free drive, pressing escape, so on and so forth, and your build will just disappear. There is a bug in the game. Early access. But this is uploaded now, if anyone wants to indulge. Oh, is it not gonna like it? No way. No way. It lets me do that? No. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. It's just nope, nope, nope. It'll let you do that. It'll let you do that. Yeah, interesting. I guess that does make sense. And realistically, we want to do this. I just wanted to test to see. I don't think we're going to be able to do this either. Yeah. So if we want to have double rotors, what is this, a 4? We're going to need to go to a 6 to... This is going to get ridiculous. We can't put this here. We have to put it here. And then we also need to leave room for the hinge connector. Now it'll let us put this here, I think. There we go. Okay. We got it. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to increase the efficiency, unfortunately. We're going to take the hit to effectiveness in order to save that extra size. Like, we know how to make, we know how to, like, if you look at the Mayfly, you know, even this has 97%. But, like, we know how to make a quadcopter where, and this thing is very stable. Like, the Mayfly Mark II is still, like, one of the best things I built. Like, look how stable that is. It has a little bit of pitch up, like that. Like, I'm not touching anything, it pitches up. But that's okay. It holds its turn. I don't need to battle it while I'm in the middle of a turn. That's beautiful. Everyone likes that. That's what everyone wants. That's beautiful. Is the hinge connector required, or can you use a beam? The hinge connector is required. I'll demonstrate after. The hinge connector is required. And it is, as you expect, it is because of the early access. The hinge connector is a mark of the early access. And we respect it. We respect it. Also, the fact that the propellers are rotating in the opposite direction of the planetary gears is also a mark of the early access. But we also accept that. It's actually pretty fascinating. The fact that this thing even works is ridiculous. If you look at my past live stream where I figured out that you could actually do this with the hinge connector, it just didn't make sense to me. I started laughing. All right, let's see if this works. We doubled up the rotors. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. What? Wait, what? Wait, hold on. What is happening? No way. So what you're telling me is that this is rotating, but this isn't. And yes, I'll take the hinge connectors off to demonstrate that the hinge connectors are... Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. We'll try. Yes, the hinge, I'm holding the right trigger down. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. So yeah, hinge connectors definitely required. Check this out though. What? Why are the bottom rotors rotating and the tops aren't? What is it? What? That's one axis, by the way. That is what. Bit Gaming, welcome back. That is one axis. And if you look, the rotors are rotating in the opposite direction of the planetary gears of the axis that it's attached to. That makes no sense. I think that is a very beautiful demonstration of just how deep into exploiting a bug we have become. We have gotten. Yes. We have gotten. So confirmed, we can't just add more to this axis because this one will rotate, but the one above it won't. Try a 3-beam between the two connectors. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Hold on. Are you talking about this? I think I know what you're talking about. But we're so bugging right now. We are so bugging. I don't know where we even are anymore. So maybe this. Axle lock, maybe that'll work too. No, it doesn't. It like one of them kind of twitches a little bit. That's it. So yeah, having a beam between them doesn't work. An axle lock takes up 2 spaces, so we would have to make it even higher. Maybe hold on. Maybe if I added down here. We are full bugging right now. No, it's the same. It's the same thing. And yes, the beam doesn't rotate at all anymore. Because we're using the double hinge connector, or not the double hinge connector, it is called, I keep forgetting the name, connector double. Yes, because we're using the connector double, the beam no longer rotates where we once had the beam. You got to understand, the fact that this even rotates doesn't make any sense. So trying to double it up, I just got to see this again. I gotta see this again. It just like, as far as my understanding of the game goes, I am just boggled right now. I am just boggled. Like, why are those rotating in the opposite direction of the axis? And why is it even rotating? Because it's a connector double around an axis. But yes, no. We can't seem to do this. I don't know where to even go in terms of the fact that this doesn't rotate is just stumping me. The 2 black ones want to turn a little bit, hit the orange. Yeah. Well, it's because the whole reason this works at all is because they're perfectly synchronized. So if there is any type of collision, then that means that something is janking out and not functioning properly. Like, you can't have a design, you can't have anything like this in real life. The only reason this works is because of a bug in the game, and because the way the motors work in the game, they are in perfect synchrony. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think on it a bit, but I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Got another cup of coffee. Trust, welcome back. Yeah, trust. Yeah, we found a workaround using the connector double. Uh but you gotta see, I gotta demonstrate this again. You gotta see this. You gotta see this. Look at how, if you look at the back left engine, when I rotate it, the bottom rotors rotate in the opposite direction that the axis is rotating, but the top connector double doesn't rotate, nor does the hinge connector. See? Like, stop, stop, start. See what I'm talking about? Stop, start. And yes, we have confirmed many a time, but just to reiterate, that if you take the hinge connector 2 off of the top, okay. Oh, I messed up. My bad. That was my bad. If you take the hinge connector 2s off the top, it just doesn't work. Like, I'm pressing W, my controller, nothing works at all. That rotation you're seeing is just, I don't know. I don't know why that's, yeah. But we do know how to get it to work. And that is what is insane. We found a whole bunch of ways that it doesn't work. But we do have a way to get it to work. I think I reversed the engines. I need to look at it carefully. Both of the left side are rotating in opposite directions for some reason. We don't know. We're not going to question it. We're just going to flip them. I did upload a functional version of this to the workshop. There we go. So this works. Like, confirm. It's got this like weird slight vibration. But it definitely works. Confirm. It's very, very touchy. Like, I want to do a front flip, I do a front flip. You know? Like, it's very, very touchy. Backflip, backflip. But it holds. It holds. I'm not touching anything. It flattens out a little bit, and then you have to, like, correct it. But that's about it. Getting it to stop flattening out, I think, is going to take some counterbalance of some sort. Like, if I did this with, like, a very light weight, let's see what would happen. Wait, no, that would make it go back even more. Hold on. No, we want the weight to be in the front. Yeah. So we just do that same exact thing just on this side. I made a new version of my drone for controller. Nice. Yeah, didn't your first drone work with controller? Yeah, now we're tilting down, which I actually like. That feels very comfortable. We like that. We like that a lot. Yeah, if we crash, we pretty much have to go back to garage, because otherwise this happens. For some reason, when you crash, it just janks the whole thing up. So we have to go back to garage, back to free drive, and then back in again. No idea. No idea. But I like that it noses down a slight amount. See, I'm not touching anything right now. I'm not touching anything. I like that. We do like that. The first Descendant just blue screened my computer. Oh, rip. I'm sorry. That game, in some regards, feels very early access. The first Descendant, in some regards, feels very early access. In others, it feels pretty good. But overall, I'd just say it's very unpolished, overall. But yeah, if it blue screened your computer, that sucks. I've had many disconnects in that game. So this thing kind of wants to continue. I'm not good at controlling it, so I can just, if I really, if I start to lose it, I start to lose it. Now, what I'm gonna do is change the color of the wings, right? Because being able to tell which is front, which is back, we can easily. The paint color doesn't change the symmetry. So there you go. Orange is forward. Windows updates. Surprisingly, I got that game to work on Linux. And I say surprisingly because nowhere do they say that it should run on Linux. Yeah, this thing feels much more stable. It's still got the nose up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and add an even heavier weight to this front part. Is that the best idea? I don't know, but we're just messing around with it. Okay, now we nose down constantly, which I actually prefer. I'm sure not everyone prefers that. I'd much rather it nose down than nose up. But that did exactly what I expected it to, which is nice. I will say the camera is the final boss in the game. As far as not having a static camera option, when you're flying something like this, having it move around on screen, like we're talking just raw position on the screen, right? Not like relative based on motion or anything, just raw position on the screen. It makes it very difficult to control it. And if you go anything, we've clearly demonstrated this multiple times. If you go anything above like 250 kilometers in any like sideways direction or up or down, left or right, in a fast way, your vehicle will just fly off screen. Have you thought about gyroscopes in all directions? That would work, but the problem I'm not having is control. Like I demonstrated, I'm not having problems with control. Like, I'm having problems with my ability to fly this thing well and the camera, right? But yeah, we're nosing down constantly. I'm gonna go back to the smaller weight. But yes, gyroscopes like the one that we're using for rotation, I know what you're talking about. We could use this for rotation in every direction. But there's the magical force that's baked into the game. And I'd kind of rather just... given the wings, like... Yeah, we could... Like, this motion, we're relying on the weight, which is like a gyroscope. This motion, we're relying on the magical force that's being provided by the shark fins. But as far as the stability of this thing goes, keeping it stable and in flight is mostly pilot skill. As far as like maneuverability goes, it's very maneuverable. But what does that also mean? It means that the controls are very, very touchy. So every time I barely touch the controls, I like start to do a backflip or a front flip. So it's more about being able to fine tune and know what I'm pushing when I push it. Also, knowing what is forward and backwards is also important for that specific reason. Because I flung myself around and then I started doing the opposite of what I wanted to do. Yeah, we could even paint these orange. Yeah. I would like to see a reaction to my mini drone V2. Yeah, we could do it. I'm gonna re-upload this. The way uploading on the workshop works, as far as I can tell, is if someone liked that previous version that I uploaded earlier, you can revert back to that if you really want. But yeah, I'm down to check out your mini drone V2. We checked out this UFO, but it did not fly well, unfortunately. The mini drone V2. With classic drone controls. Four tons? Yeah, it's 4,000 kilograms. The amount of pieces. It would be nice if they showed the amount of actual raw individual pieces it took to build this thing. As far as like mass goes, having the raw number of pieces would be another good metric to have on this screen. Because this must be well over 100 pieces. Can you remove stuff from the workshop? Yes, you can. But I've said it before, and I know you brought up your build, Crammy, and I respect that. If you upload something to the workshop, and it has happened before, and I'm going to be very, very verbal and clear about this. If you upload something to the workshop, it is, as far as I consider it, public domain. If you upload something to the workshop, someone else can immediately subscribe, immediately duplicate and add to their garage, and then go on to, if I wanted to upload Truss's drone, I could do that. Just recognize that. Would I do that? No. but there are people that do that. And it's just it's the nature of freely sharing builds. Like, you can't stop people from doing that. So just very, very clear, if the second you upload something to the workshop, somebody very well could subscribe, duplicate it, re-upload it under a different or same name. So just keep that in mind. And every time the workshop comes up, I think I do a good job of mentioning that. Yes, this is the mini drone 1.1 made by Truss. Oh, nice. Very clean. Interesting. Yeah, you're using the planetary, the gyroscopes. Yeah, interesting. Very cool. Very very responsive. Yeah, nice. And yeah, you don't have any wings at all. 0 wings. There. Yeah, this is a good V2 or 1.1. Nuts. Wait, hold on. If I rebuild yours and then fly it. Oh, weird. The engine audio just stopped. I did not turn the engine audio off. Hey, that's kind of a benefit, honestly. I like flying this thing more now. Yeah, because the so it's definitely a downside of trying to make the smallest span possible is the fact that you're rotating around this center of mass very, very close to the center of mass. So you get this like very touchy motion, which is great, right? Very responsive. Yeah, this feels good. Good job on this. Definitely like continue working on this. As far as like how to get it to hold its turn, it wants to like flatten out, and I don't know. Like, I want to hold a bank. And it's tough when you have such a small wingspan. Rotor span. But yeah, nice. This is getting like very, I think you pretty much have it as compact as you can get it. You were correct yesterday that the span, the distance between two perpendicular alternating rotors using the carbon wing can be 7 in between for a total of 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9 beam. Yes. I believe this is, I at this point, I think it's confirmed that this is as close as you can get it. Mateo, the bug with the hinge is a combination with the planetary gears, I think. Yes, you are correct. When they are placed near, they don't work correctly. If you use normal gears, then the hinge will spin with the axle. Yes, indeed. And Truss's design is a perfect example of that. Truss's design is a perfect example of that. You have the gear medium going into the gear small, right? But yes, unfortunately, that does require 2 more gears. But you get the added benefit of the gear ratio. So you get that, whatever it is, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 additional gear ratio. But this is what it looks like to not use any gears other than a single planetary. And this is the ultra jank, but it's beautiful and we like it. We embrace the jank. Around these parts, we embrace the jank. Yeah. Just looking at that hurts a little bit, but we embrace it. It kind of feels like a pancake a little bit. It's like flying. It's a little bit like flying a pancake. I don't know if we need that many shark fins. I think we can reduce. Like, we went a little bit too far with that. And these on the sides are okay. These affect the left and right banking, right? Banking to the down and to the left, banking down and to the right. Having two does seem to be pretty good. Yeah, that motion, like our roll is pretty good. Our rotation is very good. Our forward motion and backward motion is still pretty good. So the stability of this thing, I think we're starting to hit a sweet spot. But here's the thing, right? And it's the thing that needs to be mentioned. The faster you go, right? Like, this thing is only going at 100 kilometers an hour. The faster you go, the more you're going to get wind resistance. The more you're going to run into... Yeah, I just, like, full lost it. The more you're going to run into wind resistance, and that has, like, a weird impact on the stability. I'm not touching anything. Like, this is what it wants to do right now. That's not what I want it to do, right? Now it's going back to the right. I didn't touch anything. Now it's going back to the left. I didn't touch anything. So, as to why it's doing that, I suspect it has to do with this. I suspect it has to do with these sticking out in the sides. It has to do with, like, the wind resistance, the direction you're going in. Using gyroscopes definitely seems like a cool way to go about it. Because then you're not... I noticed with your build, Trust, that when you're at high speed, no matter what you do... You're bound by the fact that the rotors are, yeah, I constantly have to be battling this thing. It's just, it's honestly not where we need it to be. It does not feel good to fly something where you need to constantly be fighting it. And you can just see when I hop in this thing, like, I'm not fighting it nearly as much, you know? Sure, it has a little bit of pitch up, but I'm able to maneuver it very, very strongly. And most importantly, keep it statically in a bank, right? Like, I can bank it and it stays in that bank. It's beautiful. That's what we're looking for, and it's difficult. See how it just stays in this bank? That's why this deserved, that is why this deserved the Mark III from the Mayfly Mark II. That is why. What you just witnessed is why. Yeah, this I use spacebar for. I should change the controls of this thing. But this does the same. Look at this bank. I'm not touching anything. That's what I like to see. And I'd even argue that, yeah, the Mayfly Mark III is actually better at doing what the Mayfly Mark II does. Going from controller to keyboard is very, very strange, I will say. It's like going from writing with your right hand to writing with your left hand. Or throwing a ball with your right hand to throwing a ball with your left hand. It's just like, and I'm relatively ambidextrous too. Like I bat left-handed and I throw a ball with my right hand. No, I throw a ball with my left hand and then I bat left-handed, but I write with my right hand. I write with a pen with my right hand, but I throw a ball with my left hand. But the Jester, it's tough. I think it's something to do with the engines. I don't know. I'm gonna put these back the way that we have them on our. We're just gonna take that from the Mayfly Mark III. Mark IV when? The Mayfly Mark IV is gonna be a feat. It is gonna be a feat. The Mayfly Mark III is, I said it many a time with the Mayfly Mark II that is the best thing that I've built in this game. This is the best thing I've built. This is very, very close to getting to be the next best thing. This taught me what I needed to know in order to build this, and then the Whirlwind, with the alternating propellers. That I don't know if anyone else has done alternating propellers. Now, I'm sure someone has, but the alternating propeller design is something that I'm very glad that I figured out. And I highly recommend messing with it. This is what I'm talking about. I prefer to throw both hands and feet. Car is uploaded. Crammy, do you want me to check out your build? I'm down to check out builds. If you have builds that you want to show me, I'm down to check them out. We could probably, so with the windmill, right? I mean, it's clear what we did here. You know what I mean? Like we took this and then strapped a bunch of wheels on it. We could probably take this, right? This. Now, we know we can add more planetary gears for a fact. We can just stack planetary gears in a row while maintaining this specifically. Everything after this needed to be the same. We can also reduce these to be 2s instead of 3s, sure. But that design from the Whirlwind, I think we can adapt this into the Whirlwind Mark II, potentially. Potentially. Yeah, may as well see what you think about it. Sure, if you want me to check it out, I'll check it out. What is it called? We did check out Truss's mini drone V2, which is pretty awesome. Like, using gyros in every direction in such a compact design to get that type of performance is pretty crazy. I'm relying on wings, the shark fins, but Truss's design has no shark fins, no wings other than the rotors, which is pretty crazy, given the fact that you're just rotating weights. Which, as far as I can tell, is that's how like gyros actually work, right? J-test. Okay, I'll look up J-test. Ooh, interesting. This is Crammy's build. Oh, sick. Very nice. It handles extremely well. And yes, for the mud bowl, look at that low end torque and traction you get. Yeah, I can feel it. Because in the mud bowl, you're rarely, that's the longest straightaway, right? What we just went through is the longest straightaway. Yeah. Very nice. That's so interesting that you put the wings up top. But low top speed. Low top speed, and it is 4-wheel drive. It's very, very clean. The crazy thing is the low end torque, for sure. Like, when you're in a turn, you just pick it up immediately. You just pick it up immediately. Yeah, that's awesome. And because you're using the double electric motor, you're getting that like extremely high low end torque, even though you're using the bigger wheels. And with the motorcycle suspension, you can make it 4-wheel drive, right? Slightly higher top speed. The thing about the Mud Bowl in particular, and it is titled B-Class Mud Bowl, the thing about the Mud Bowl race is that you don't need a high top speed. That's what's amazing about this thing. If you've done the Mud Bowl race, you know why this thing would do really, really well in it. This thing is like specifically tailored for the Mud Bowl. It's good. It's definitely good. The 4-wheel drive, like, I attempted that a little bit with the Alpha Meta. I should let me put dirt tires on this thing. The 4-wheel drive build, I think there's something to it for sure. But again, there is a limitation that must be mentioned in the game. There's constantly a traction control system that's going on. And one of my recommendations is that they get rid of it. Or not get rid of it. Let us activate or deactivate it. Yeah, our low-end turning is limited in this setup. It does make me wonder, like, what would happen if I just made the rear wheels turnable? Because that's what we did with the Whirlwind. If you just make the rear wheels turnable, you get better low-end turning. That's just how it works. Yeah, there we go. There we go. But then we slide out pretty much immediately. And we slide out. So here's the thing. The thing is, you slide out and then you are restricted by the traction control. This is what irks me and why I've been spending so much time on aircraft. Because it doesn't feel right. That felt okay, but you can hear it, right? When I was in that turn, I had my acceleration 100%. Why did my wheels slow down? Why did my engine slow down? Why did my RPMs go down? Because of the baked-in traction control system. So like when I drive something like this, I wanna slide it out, and I wanna slide it out, but I can't. So like, why can't I slide it out? Why does my engine stop? I had my throttle all the way up. That's my biggest gripe. Why did it stop? Why did my engine stop? I had 100%. That's one of my biggest gripes about the traction control system. There is a system in the game, and if you've played a game like BeamNG, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On some vehicles in BeamNG, and they do it so well in BeamNG, it's basically like real life. It's basically it's exactly how traction control works in real life. Like, your throttle will get limited, your RPMs will decrease if it detects that your wheels have started to lose torque, resistance, traction. You don't want that when you're making a rally car, especially not a four-wheel rally car. If you've ever watched rally, a type of rally race, you know that every turn a rally driver takes, you hear that engine buzzing. Yeah, hopefully the devs do that, because that's something I want to see. Check options. There is no traction control setting in the game. Yeah. Yeah, this thing, so again, I'm not touching anything and it's banking to the left. Like, I don't want it to do that. As for why it does that, I don't fully know. Like, why does this carry the bank, but then the Mark III doesn't? You know, it's a very similar design. maybe that will be added in the future. I hope so, yeah. Like, I shouldn't have to be constantly battling it to stop it from banking, you know? That's not what you want when it comes to when it comes to a quadcopter. Like, any type of like helicopter aircraft, you want to be able to turn and it just holds it. Boom. It's holding it. You want to turn this way? It's holding it. It's just holding. I'm not touching anything. I started the turn, it just holds it. Like, that's what you're looking for. A little bit of adjustment, a little bit of needing to battle it is okay, but I don't know why. It must be something to do with the rotors being so close to one another. I don't know. Because at that point, it just gets down to like fine-tune control, right? That's like just getting down to how the wings are actually working. Why do wings often have unequal efficiency between two sides of a symmetrical vehicle? Is that a bug? Trekovic, welcome back. It may very well be. But as far as my experience goes, I've never, if I have a perfectly symmetrical setup, perfectly symmetrical, I've never seen wings have a different efficiency. Yeah. And as far as my builds go, pretty much everything I do is a mirror. Everything I do is a mirror in some form. About wind resistance. Interesting. Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering. Like, if it truly is perfectly symmetrical, then why would you have one on one side be less efficient than the other on the other side? I've never personally experienced that. So that's why I say it may very well be a bug. I don't know. But yes, it does sound possible for sure. Yeah, as far as the Jester goes, I'm gonna need to spend more time on that. I did upload an iteration of it. I uploaded an iteration that was in a respectable state. So I'm glad I did that because we can go back and check it. Yeah, it's definitely slower. Like, the whole thing is slower, I think, because of the weight. But it still carries its turn. I really think it comes down to... I really think it comes down to the fact that the engines are just so close to one another. I think the game just like doesn't like having centers of thrust so close to the center of mass But then I'm like, yeah, you could use reaction wheels. We could balance it out, you know? Like maybe if I add a little bit more weight away from the center of mass. That might be something we can try. Lonnie, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, now with the double weight in the back and the single weight in front, it's very obvious as to why that's happening. Like, if we make it heavier, maybe it will hold its position better. Yeah, kinda. Like, making it as light as possible is not... as far as the design goes in the game, mass is irrelevant. It is irrelevant. Not irrelevant. Obviously, it's relevant. But what I'm saying is, like, mass is not going to be the thing that limits us. Mass obviously has an effect. What I'm trying to say, to reword it carefully, is if we make it heavier, that's not necessarily worse. That's what I'm trying to say. Because, like, as far as fuel efficiency goes, material costs, like, I don't care about any of that. So mass we only need to worry about for handling and performance. That's it. But yeah, this is feeling better, for sure. I think adding that extra mass in front is kind of, or on the sides, is helping balance it. So, like, it allows me to hold a turn, you know? There, we made it through all three. But it's still got, well, it flattens out. That's kind of okay. I have that extra weight in front, and it still wants to pitch up. That just bugged out. As far as making it more powerful, if we want to make it more powerful, we're going to just have to add another planetary gear. You can swap those weights out for armor plates. Oh, true. That would be interesting. I feel like we have it in a pretty good balanced spot. Now, as for scaling it up, we tried earlier and we're gonna have to make it ridiculous. Like, if we want to scale it up, it's gonna have to be ridiculous. It's gonna come in the form of another planetary gear in a row. Maybe this will work, maybe it won't. But we do know that it definitely did not work when we tried to add another set of wings. We know that doesn't work. And it doesn't work in the weirdest way imaginable. where the lower ones rotate, but the top ones don't, even though they're both on a connector double. Yeah. I don't even want to begin. I really don't want to think about it anymore. Because there is no way to explain it. We've just accepted it, right? It's some deep jank in the code of the game. That's backwards. Yeah, this. And this. So, as far as this setup goes, hypothetically, it should just go faster. Okay, we must have one that's out of alignment. Hold on. Yeah. Back left is rotating backwards. This one. As to why? No idea. No idea, but we're gonna just go ahead and flip it. Yeah, there we go. And yes, it does just go faster. Now, here's the thing. Like, I lose control flat out. We're talking like because of the torque, because of, yeah, and when I crash and I try to take off again, instant just rotation. So that is the case. You add another planetary gear, you go faster. But good luck controlling it. Good luck. We're hitting 200 kilometers an hour. The whole thing is just banking. Like, I'm not touching anything. It just wants to... It wants to do whatever it wants. And we don't like that. Now, is there a way to control it? Maybe. Maybe if you're a really, really good pilot and you know how to, like, modulate the throttle and all that. But in my experience, going above a certain speed, like 200 kilometers an hour, with a quadcopter starts to do really weird things. In which case, a design like the Dragonfly that we made is much better, right? Like, boom, stable 250, right? Slight nose down, but that's about it. Like, that's why we built this thing. Boom, stable 260 right there. That's why I say, like, as for my goal in terms of making like a very versatile compact quadcopter, it's not about making it go fast. You want something to go fast, you need something like this. You're not in this game, the way that the air resistance works, you're not gonna get over 200 kilometers an hour with a quadcopter and be able to maintain stability. You're just not. And I will say that firmly. You're just not. This is the kind of design you want to go for if you're trying to make something that goes fast in the air. My problem is that at a certain speed, my drone flies flat. Yes, indeed, indeed. Your comment exactly, exactly. That is why with the Mayfly Mark II, at most, you'll see this thing maybe top out at like 150-ish. 150? 160? 170? But that's the thing, like, this thing is not meant, like, the Mayfly, unlike the Dragonfly, nice, we hit 180. The Mayfly is not meant for speed. And when I get to 200, it starts like banking strangely, you know? For a quadcopter, you want to keep it, in my strong recommendation, you want to keep it below 200 kilometers an hour. Because at that point, you're going to start getting weird air resistance based on the wings themselves, based on how the game calculates the air resistance at any given point. It's, yeah. So as far as making this scaled up, it doesn't feel necessary. But we did confirm that, yes, we can actually get that to work, right? Like, we can actually add another planetary gear in a row and have it function properly. But then, of course, we run into the issues that we've mentioned. Did you use the Dragonfly to get a PB on the long straight hill? No. That was just a demonstration that, yes, you could technically use an aircraft. You could technically use an aircraft to fly into the speed camera, if that's what you're asking about. There are other missions, races in the game that would benefit strongly from an aircraft. Primarily the A to B races. Especially the one where you have to go over a mountain. If that's what you're asking about, yes. Yes. I did use the Dragonfly to get my PB on several things. The Dragonfly being the first aircraft that I had built. Which one? Back right. No, back. Everything except for the back left is rotating backwards. Yeah. The Dragonfly is on the workshop, by the way. So if you want to fly that thing, it is on the workshop. It feels very good to fly. Like, just hopping in it and cruising around. Spacebar to go up. It has full yaw control and rotation with Q and E. And it can turn. Like, that. This thing can really turn. Majestic. If you wanna share your build, yeah, sure. If it's on the workshop, I'll check it out. If you let me know what it's called, I'll try it out. Yeah, see how it, even at low speeds, it wants to flatten out. That's a result. I really think that's a result of having the rotors so close to one another. Having the rotors so close to one another, just the physics in the game makes it flatten out for some reason. Whereas with the Mayfly, it allows you to hold a turn even at pretty high speeds. This feels pretty cool. But yeah, the fact that it keeps banking back is obviously the that's the hardest thing. Majestic Speedster. All right, we'll check it out. Oh, I don't mind that so much. The two weights in the front. The way that I have to battle, that's the biggest thing. You know, it's going to be difficult. That's going to take a lot of refinement. Once you get going, it stabilizes. Now it's banking to the left on its own. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's just tough. Again, I'm just going to default back to the Mayfly is the best quadcopter I built in the game. And then the Mayfly Mark III is a very close second. As for making another quadcopter build, probably just gonna leave it off with the Mayfly Mark III. Like this thing feels like a good balance. Making the fan blades closer together, I don't think it, other than trying to make it more compact, I just run into like weird stability issues. It doesn't feel good. But yes, Majestic, we will try your build. I'm just gonna flat out, the Jester is not, it's not gonna happen. I'll leave it on the workshop. I'll leave it on the workshop for proof of concept. But that is not something that I'm gonna continue to develop at this point. I don't think you can get a stable quadcopter that can go at about like 150 kilometers an hour without needing to fight it constantly. Majestic Speedster. You got the mini drone V3? Nice. This is Majestic Speedster. Ooh, nice. The electric engines with the big wheels are very interesting. Because the thing with the giant wheels is they're heavy. But when you have that low-end battery torque, it counteracts it. Right? Nice. The gear ratios are very smooth. The fourth gear, going into fourth gear is very smooth. Indeed, indeed. Could you give me some tips to improve my next car? I uploaded a car named J Help Me Car. Okay. Yeah, good work on that, Majestic. The gear ratio setup you have is very interesting. It looks choppy on the graph, but it feels smooth when you drive it. J Help Me Car. Help Me G Car. Interesting. Is this four-wheel drive? This is Shrekovic's vehicle. Yeah, using the big wheel again. That is a lot of horsepower. That is a lot of horsepower. Yeah, the big dirt wheels. Very interesting. Yeah, that low end torque. Yeah, as for fifth gear getting capped out, I suspect you're gonna need a planetary gear. To get over 160, you're gonna need a planetary gear. But as for a vehicle that caps out at 160, this feels pretty satisfying. Also notice that you have the the street wheel. I should go into creative. That's fine. Yeah, you have the street. Is that the street wheel big? I think that's the street wheel big, right? The racing wheel big. Yeah. Very, very interesting. No. That's the... Is that the small? Yeah, I think it is the small. Interesting. Yeah, so the transmission, you're using a gear shift 3. You're using a gear shift 3 into a gear shift 2. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I always do my 2 shifters in alignment, but I have seen this done before where you have the top gear, right? This is what is getting the initial... Hold on. Here's the initial energy going through here. Trying to figure out If this is going through here, where's that resulting? Wait, is there another side to this? No. What? Where else is the power being translated right now? Because it's not being translated into the gear, this. It's going through the bottom of this. What? Am I being poo brain right now? Like, don't you have to put it in the back of the gear shifter in order to get the power translation? Is that being translated into anything else? No. It's just 3 gear corners. Very interesting. Yeah, so the main issue is that you're lacking a planetary gear. Somewhere in here you could definitely fit a planetary gear for a higher top end gear ratio. That's what I would to sum it up, that's what I would focus on, because in most races I would recommend aiming for a top speed of at least 200 kilometers an hour. Now, this thing has plenty of horsepower with 4 of these PW Blaze 1000s. Yes. Now, what I'm confused about is where is this power being translated? Because these are the rods for the engines. There's nothing else, no other gears tied to these at all. This is being then this is then being translated from this gear corner to this gear corner, which is then plugged in here. But it's going into 2 beams and it's going through this gear shift 3. Don't you have to plug it into the center part of the gear shift? Like, I'm so confused. There's nothing else attached to it. This is where the power ends up. Right here. This is where the power ends up. Does it? So what my question is, does it get translated into this? It has to, right? The shifter accepts power from any of the holes? Wait, what? Since when? Mora, welcome. Since when? I did not know that. That's amazing. So you can translate power from one of the holes in the side of a gear shifter, and it will come out the front of the gear shifter. And I assume vice versa, right? Because you do the same thing here, where this hole right here is not even occupied. You're translating the force through hold on, I can't get a good look at it. Wait, where are you translating the force? Oh, you're translating that through here? No, these are pegs. You're just translating it through this whole thing. Okay. Yes. Yeah, this is what was confusing me. The fact that you can translate power through one of the sides of the gear shifters. But yeah, I would recommend putting a planetary gear on this thing. So, like, for instance, with the flat top, I have planetary gear tucked in here for that, like, super high gear ratio, which gives it a top speed of 281. It's a bug in the game. You can transmit power via the shifter side hole. Okay, that's good to know. That's very interesting. So yeah, that's my general recommendation if you were asking for recommendations. Because as far as it goes, like plenty of horsepower, plenty of acceleration, but you should find a way to translate that power and acceleration into more top speed. That's at least what it feels like. Otherwise, very interesting using the race wheel small on the back. But yeah, I wanna work and refine this thing, but I will be right back in the meantime. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I'm gonna work on refining this down a little bit more. We did get the Whirlwind Mark 1 close to where we want it to be, but there's some clear design decisions that can be refined. And I think we would be well off to work on a Mark II version. As far as my first propeller-powered land vehicle goes, there are two things that I really want to achieve with this, and one of them is I want to try and figure out how to use electric engines. I would like to enjoy the low soothing hum of the low RPM electric engine rather than the insanely annoying high-pitched one. And yes, I know I can turn off the engine sounds. We did learn that. But yes, that is a nice demonstration of the Whirlwind Mark 1, which we did work on last stream. That is on the workshop, by the way, for anyone who wants to try it. And Truss did show us their Tornado, which is also on the workshop, which is another type of propeller-powered vehicle. The first propeller-powered vehicle propeller-powered land vehicle was made by that I saw on the workshop was made by White Dwarf, the Carbon 1B dragster. And as far as I can tell, this kind of design is how you get absolutely insane amounts of torque in the game, right? So it's all a kind of similar idea. I'm sure you can see exactly. You take the same idea and you scale it up, and you get something like the Carbon 1B dragster, which can break the sound barrier. You take that idea, right? You take that idea, you tone it down a little bit, you refine it, and you get something kind of like the Whirlwind. So I'm gonna duplicate it, rename Mark II, and I want to start editing this thing without interrupting the Mark I. So first things first, I do want to try to see if we can simplify this down considerably, which I believe we're going to be able to, thankfully. By using the connector double rather than a beam. If that's going to be going that way, then yes, we do want this to go this way. So before we do anything else, let's see if that actually works. Because I am operating within a bug right now. Yes, and it does it does work. It actually works. So we simplified that down right off the bat by using the connector double. Yes, that bridge is indeed a bridge. We do know. It does have a wall on the side of it. As far as getting this one closer, we could get this thing to be one closer. So what I'm going to do is build it one closer. The problem is, if we build it one closer, how many units exactly is this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7. In between, right? In between. If we move it over 1, then it's going to be 6 in between. And then that leaves a double center. But the only problem we run into with that is not having a beam with this current design. There's no 4 beam in the game. So we would simply need to redesign this to be more like this. We could do... No, we're going to need to shorten it. That's the whole point. Yes, this is the same length. Yes, this is simpler. But we need to reduce it by 1. I'm wondering what the easiest way... Like, how do I shift this over? I think, yeah, we just take a beam. We start from here. And then we just pretend like that is that right there. Yeah. And then everything else, all of this is out of alignment. So we need to rebuild this entire side. Because, yeah, we can't just take it and then shift it over. We can't just pick it up and shift it over. So as for where the engine is... Translating stuff over is always a little bit... You need to be pretty methodical about how you build it back up. Because if you aren't, then you're just going to mess it up again. And I've done that before, like where I've translated something over 2 by accident. And it doesn't feel good. Mateus, what are you working on now? I am working on the Whirlwind Mark II. And we are refining it to be 1 unit closer, because this is as close as I believe you can possibly get to rotors that have carbon wings, which are 5 in length. So the max length you can possibly have between two rotors is 6 in length, because you need this to be unoccupied. If this is occupied, I'm almost certain you're going to get clipping in between the especially the ring. You get clipping between the ring and then the corners of these wings. So this, I believe, is as close as you can possibly get two rotors using the carbon wings. Which is a length of 6 in between. Yes. Now, when you're making a quadcopter, it's different. It kind of matters as to whether you have a double center or a single center. But as far as that modification goes, alongside the modification we made to the actual powertrain from the engine through the planetary gears, I think that's a good upgrade. That feels much cleaner. So if we get this to work properly, which I suspect we will have ourselves a solid Whirlwind Mark II. And now that we've done that, the hard work is out of the way. Now we just need to kind of take our time making sure we duplicate one side. Now here's the problem. Oh, that's not a problem. That's going to be perfect, actually. If I put a carbon wing right here, we're good. Yeah. Nice. That actually works out perfectly. That's not a problem at all. Yes, and if we want to drop this thing down one more, we could. And I bring that up because one of the major downsides of using a propeller for propulsion is the fact that if you hit a bump too hard, the wings in front, which are spinning rapidly, will clip into the ground and you'll go flying into the air instantly. That is a major downside, admittedly. All right, we're gonna need to test to see. We're gonna need to test to see if the fan blades rotate properly. And we need to actually connect one side of it to the other side of it, because there's no actual connection. I'm gonna connect all of these just to make it clean. It's functioning. I think we may have something decent. We have liftoff. It's wobbling a little bit. It's doing a little bit of a jiggle. It may require further inspection. We don't like jiggle. Jiggle is not something we want in our builds. We want clean, stable control and maneuverability and power. So the next thing, now that we have this thing working, the next thing is to figure out how to redesign it to use another planetary gear and an electric engine. It's got like a weird jiggle. As for it interrupting the performance, I don't feel any interruption. This thing handles beautifully. Oh, poo brain moment. We see it. We found it. This is testing. This is testing, folks. We found it. Haha. We found it. No one else found it, but we found it. That wing was on the wrong side of the wheel. Still getting the jiggle though. I don't know if that would stop the jiggle. I don't think that would stop the jiggle. That's ridiculous. So everything is great, aside from the sound of the mosquito in my ear. From the PW Blaze being in absolute overdrive mode. One of your rear wheel is turning? Oh, thank you, Mora. Huge notice. Very good catch. Much appreciated. I would not have noticed that for a long time. Why don't you make the propellers in the middle of the car? We could. I kind of like the idea of like pulling the whole thing along that. That kind of like is entertaining. But you aren't wrong. Also, having downforce on the front wheels helps turn it. Now, we could make the rear wheels turn, too. That is what we did with the Mark 1. Take this thing on the Secret Queen race. I have made a... Oh, wait, why are those... clipping now? Hold on. Oh, because they're rotating in the same direction. Hold on, we messed something up. No. They're not rotating in the same direction. Then why were they clipping before? Wait, what? Oh, the jank. Beautiful, beautiful jank. I've made the conscious decision to not use certain vehicles in certain races. If other people do that, that's great. Cool. So the one on the right, looking forward, is rotating counterclockwise. The one on the left is rotating clockwise, looking forward. Looking forward, this is rotating clockwise. So, as determined before, oh, but that makes me wonder, is that now a limitation? If this is rotating clockwise from, like, if we're looking at this blade, it is rotating to the right. Yeah, it's still a limitation. See, we can't flip that. Now, we could extend this out. This might actually be necessary. Because I think because we're using the blades, the carbon wings backwards, we're gonna get more efficiency if we actually flip them the correct direction. Like that. I also think you can flip the wings to face backwards. Yes. Yes. I made a different version of your car. Oh, interesting. Truss is modifying Shrekovic's builds. Nice. We do like sharing and building upon stuff. This one was counterclockwise, so like that, I think. Why don't you change the gears to solve the bug? Oh, weird, they're like clipping into one another. Wait, why are they clipping into one another now? Hold on. They weren't clipping into one another before. Were they? Maybe they have to be reversed? Yeah, they were definitely not clipping into one another before. Are they? Yeah, they are. Are they rotating in the same direction? Hold on. It's tough. There's a lot of poo brain. Yes, they are. You are correct. There's a lot of poo brain remaining when it comes to me noticing things like that. And I appreciate you mentioning that. So we'll have to figure out which one. We want as to why they're rotating in the same direction, I don't know. But yes, I appreciate you noticing that. We want the left one to be rotating clockwise to the right. And we want the right one to be rotating counterclockwise. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, see that? See it? Yeah. Flipping the fan blades? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Oh my. Just flipping the fan blades. And we're like, ah! Because the way the downforce wings work, the way the downforce wings work is, yeah, you can reverse them, but you don't get as much scoop, right? Like, think about scooping like an ice cream scoop. Like, you're not scooping as much air if you're using this side of the wing as you are if you're using this side of the wing. So because we reverse them, we're scooping more hypothetical air. Yeah, the brakes are crap. Yeah. Where we're headed, do we need brakes though? Oh my. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Oh, the whole thing is torquing now. Maybe I spoke too soon. Where's the center of mass? A little bit forward. Maybe we do 2 of these. Yeah. Okay, so yes. Mistake. And you can see, right? Like the weight in the back was like rotating around the center of mass. So when you slide out like that, it's because you have a lot of weight in the back behind the center of mass in the direction of motion. And see, now it's not sliding out. But it's pretty, it's becoming pretty evident. So as for braking, when it comes to braking, that is the limitation. Yes. There is a brake. I don't know what it's, I guess just braking force, right? There is a braking force that is tied to every, I think it's every wheel in the game, right? Is it the wheel or is it the wheel or is it the suspension? That's the question. The braking is still very good compared to a conventional vehicle. You need an engine connected to the suspension to have brakes. Use wings for braking? Yeah, we are. We're getting, when we reverse the wings, we're getting that braking. Now, I tried it previously. Let me see. This is going to be strange. Like, if I do something, I have to think outside the jank, right? We have to go beyond the jank. If I add something like that to the wingtip, then what will happen is this will become much more effective when this is in reverse, right? If we attempt to transcend the jank, we may reach something beautiful. And that is all I attempt to do. Like, this may increase our breakability, right? Because we're going this way. Yeah. That definitely increased our breakability. That definitely increased our breakability. Oh, that is ridiculous. So by adding those downforce wings to the wingtips in the opposite reverse direction, they are now much more effective when the blades are in reverse. Why don't you change the gearing so you don't have to rely on the bug? Because the bug is fun. And because I don't like gears. Like, if we could live in a world with no gears and just direct force on everything, that's the world I want to live in. Like, there's a reason why in like idioms, sayings, like this thing grinds my gears. Like that, there's a reason why that exists. Planetary gears are beautiful. I love these things. In this game, like if you watch a video on planetary gears, beautiful. Every single combustion engine vehicle uses these in real life, and there's a reason why. It is a beautiful invention. A beautiful invention. I'm gonna look up while I'm thinking about it, and while I feel passionate enough about it. Let me see if I can actually access the thing I want to access. Planetary gear. This thing is beautiful. No, I don't like gear corners either. I don't like gears needing to touch each other outside of a beautiful ring of gears. But yeah, trying to understand exactly how these work, um, that's a thing. Like that's an actual thing. It's a real thing. Like this is actual mathematics. Yeah, this is what one looks like in real life. I'd say just looking at an animation like this is what makes it's just beautiful to look at. Like if you just look at this thing, it's beautiful. Like you got the red going into the blue going into the green. And the green is going faster than the red. All in a perfect, beautiful line. All in a line. And then you even have planetary gears that can shift within themselves. So all within like one single row. Um, if you look at a gear transmission, they get very complicated very fast. I don't know if I care to like get into uh the Wikipedia articles that detail car gear transmission boxes. But this is what I was looking for. This is what it like gets into in real life. Like this is what it gets into. This is what like a real car transmission really looks like in real life, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like you can see like 2 planetaries in a row. Two planetaries which themselves contain different ratios. Um, and then you have planetaries that can shift in between different ratios within themselves. Yeah. But yeah, I like the bug. I honestly, well, the thing is, if the bug wasn't in the game, you would be able to do this, right? So that's my take on it, at least. If the bug wasn't in the game, you would be able to do this. If the bug wasn't in the game, you would simply take this hinge connector, move it over here, and then put this on the end of it. So the workaround is just to have it go through it and then end it with a hinge connector. Now, how I figured that out was simply by pure trial and error. That's it. That's it. Like when it was on stream, I figured it out. And I just started laughing. I'm like, is that actually the case? And yes, it is. It is actually the case. Like, you just need a hinge connector on the end of it. As for how that makes sense, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it's fun. It's fun. Now, the next stage in this build is removing the mosquito sound. We have the challenge of getting rid of the mosquito sound without needing to turn off our game audio. And it's going to require another planetary gear, because these things drop off at like a much lower speed. It's not indicated in the graph. It's not actually indicated. But this can't be the Mark II until we modify something even further. Yeah, the hinge connector is in the way there. And we'll see. Maybe this won't even work. I don't know. Maybe the turbo volts just don't work. We'll see. But I've asked that question before, and it ended up working many a time in the past. So, this might be a situation for a regular hinge connector. Huh. That's interesting. Now, how do we connect all of these together? I think we do a connector double. And then we use... Nope, there's no piece in the game that can connect those two. So we need to use... That's fine. I don't mind just using a whole bunch of connectors in a row. It's not ideal, but we can do it. So connector, 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 and then Do that. That should be fine. Not the greatest. Maybe I'll take a look at it later and figure out something cleaner. But right now, I just want to see if this actually works. Because if it does, it'll be pretty interesting, that's for sure. Now, the weight of this thing... Why? Because these weigh 100 kilograms. These only weigh 65 kilograms. So yeah, we don't need those anymore. We're probably going to want to put some 90 kilograms on the back. There we go. That's a little better. So the extra planetary, the switch over to the turbo volts, this should all be pretty good. I mean, we'll see. Oh, now they're rotating in the same direction. Which one's rotating the wrong way, though? I think it's the left one. Yes, the left one needs to be reversed. It sounds good, though. No mosquito. We don't have a mosquito. Ah! Ah! The way we got 1477 was with the Carbon 1B dragster made by White Dwarf. But yes, we have acceleration, and we have stopping power as well. The whole thing kind of like janks out and wiggles a little bit, but we stop, right? Oh my. So here's the thing, right? Like, when you're making a propeller car, you're only really worrying about two dimensions, right? Left and right. And maybe a little bit of like, you know, if you see a hill, you have to slow down so you don't jump over the hill and lose traction. But as for doing a lot of the races in the game, oh, we should go back to the, yeah, we are confirmed not using this thing in a conventional race. And yes, I do maintain my mentality. I think it is a reasonable mentality that I think most people agree that a car like this should be classed differently than a conventional car. Fins at the back for no oversteering? Oh, the shark fins? Yeah. Yeah, shark fins would definitely, well, I don't feel like I'm oversteering. I don't actually think I'm oversteering. Oh, there was a little bit. But again, that's just that weight in the back. We could just reduce that weight or put a little bit more weight in the front. I'm not even going full. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I think we need a little bit of weight in front. A little bit of weight will help. No, that center of mass is pretty good. This I think, yeah, just a little bit. A little bit. The fins in the back would help with keeping the tail from sliding out. For sure. Don't you just love the low drone of the electric engines? Yeah, I don't feel like I'm sliding out as much as I'm just getting used to the absurd amount of raw power and acceleration that we have. That is what I'm getting used to. It doesn't even make any sound. It doesn't even make any sound. Ghost, welcome. Nice. When we break the vehicle, it doesn't jank the whole thing out. But again, I don't consider a vehicle like this to be cheating. Ah, look at it bouncing around. Like, as far as I'm concerned, with the philosophical discussion of like what is cheating in a early access sandbox game, I don't think there's any cheating. Like, there's no way to cheat. This is getting uploaded for anyone who wants to use it. Color. That should work. As it being, we took the Mark 1, duplicated it, changed its name, and then uploaded again. It should be on the workshop. But yes, this thing is ridiculous. No doubt. I just love not hearing that mosquito sound. I love that low hum of the electrics. You have to be pretty gentle on the throttle. Otherwise, you'll just skyrocket up to 400 kilometers an hour almost instantly. Like that. The props might be colliding from how fast they're spinning. No, I think as far as I can tell, with all of our alternating propeller builds, the game does a good job of keeping them perfectly synchronized. Like, perfectly synchronized. Yeah, maybe we do still have too much weight in the back if that's happening. But the thing is, like, you want some ability to oversteer, right? Like, you don't want understeer. It's really just, when it comes down to this much power, I think it's down to, I mean, maybe we could put more wings on the back, but I don't think that's the problem. I think maybe more weight. Or maybe we get rid of the weight in the back entirely. I don't know. When it comes down to this much power, it's like, if I crank it, it's uncontrollable. You start bouncing on the ground, and the suspension compresses well beyond what is intended. Let me get rid of these and see what happens. Since the jank only seems to happen at higher throttle. Yeah, that's because if you look at the suspension, the wheels actually start clipping into the ground. Right? Like, you're getting so much downforce. Maybe we need less downforce. Maybe that's it. Yeah, that might actually be it. But you're right. The jank only starts happening at high speed when I'm full tilt. But I don't know. I feel like more weight would help us turn more. Yeah. It does jank out though, you're right. I don't think it's the propellers. Look at the propellers. They're so in sync. If the propellers don't collide with anything, there's nothing in the game that will ever put them out of sync. Ever. As long as they don't touch anything. And our propellers have not touched anything. I think it's the wheels clipping into the ground. I think it's the actual suspension. And the fact that a lot of the roads in the game are... Ha! We just like jumped. Yeah, so another thing that I think is happening is there's some downforce that's being created because of the amount of torque that's being generated and force that's being generated. There's this downforce that's being created on the front. So as far as that goes, like, yeah, we would benefit from having wheels in front. I don't know. I made a controllable car that goes 2K kilometers an hour just by spamming wheels and wings. Interesting. There is a way to generate thrust where you pretty much just use wings. Like someone figured out that, I'm not sure if it was you, Moro, or someone else, I can't remember. But they figured out that you can make a car that just perpetually moves forward if you have wings in the correct positions. Because the wings generate more downforce than they cause drag. So more downforce, less drag, you get perpetual motion machine. I'm looking at this thinking like, yeah, could we do this? Could we do this? Hypothetically. I did upload an iteration of this on the workshop. So as far as that iteration goes, like that's clean. We're good on that one. We're good. I'm not using that bug. It's a regular fan car like the Carbon Dragster, but with 24 wheels. Nice. Yeah, as far as the Carbon 1B Dragster goes, I think White Dwarf figured out something quite beautiful. And that design is definitely how... That's how you push the sound barrier. That kind of design. With like a whole bunch of propellers in a row. Yeah. Let me just see what happens if I put this in free drive. You're attaching the wheels to the spinny bits. Am I, though? That's the question. Am I? Am I attaching wheels to the spinny bits? Because as far as I understand the bug in the game, the hinge connector doesn't rotate. This doesn't rotate. Like, this is confirmed. Like, we know this. We know it doesn't rotate. Like, as far as how deep we are into this bug, we've got to go all the way. We don't have an option. There's no other option. Everything we know about the hinge connector 2 is a lie. And that is something we must begin to accept. In order to embrace the jank. To embrace the jank, we must become one with the jank. Yes, they don't steer. We are gonna make them steerable. Thank you, Truss. I always forget to make my wheels steerable. To become the jank, it's to transcend the jank, we must become one with the jank. And by connecting the hinge connector directly to the front wheels, we are becoming one with the jank. And we are transcending the jank. That is the goal. That has always been the goal. But yeah, this works. Hinge connector through the rotors, like, confirmed. You saw it here first. We don't have that annoying mosquito sound going off constantly from the PW Blaze engines. Yeah, as for my ability to drive this thing really well, really bad. Really bad. It's extremely fine-tuned. Now, it bounces around a little bit when you really crank it, but it's still pretty controllable. It's still pretty controllable. Now, the thing that I am focusing on the most is that low-end controllability. And this thing is, like, twitchy. It's like you can turn any direction you want very, very fast. Like, you can see that, right? Like, you can clearly see that. It gets a little bit jumpy when you're going really fast, but that's about it. That's like the biggest downside. So we have transcended the jank. I don't know how else to put it. Like, so we found this bug. Let me just start from the beginning. There is a bug in the game with the hinge connectors that requires you to use some type of, well, we thought requires you to use some type of gear to make it turn in order to power a rotor. And what we found was we can instead put a beam works as well. A beam 3, I'm pretty sure any beam would work, or a connector double on the axis directly from the planetary gear. And what happens is this thing rotates, but this thing doesn't. This hinge connector doesn't. And I showed it earlier on stream. Earlier on stream, I very clearly demonstrate that this does not rotate even though it's connected to the axis. Like, that is very important to understand, because that is not the intention of the hinge connector too. It is not the intention. So we pass it through the connector double to the hinge connector, and then we just continue it on into the front wheels, because this thing is static. It's like you're connecting it to a pin. It's as if you're connecting to a pin. Yeah. So where's the center of mass on this thing? We made it we made it maybe a little bit too long. Yeah, I don't think we need this extra length. I just drove it. I mean, it handled beautifully when it was that long, but we can definitely make it more compact. And yes, I will update the previous iteration with our new iteration. Is that slightly lower? Yeah, it's one lower. So our front wheels were actually lower than our back wheels, which I don't know if we want that, but it definitely didn't seem to be a problem. Especially because the rotors themselves cause raw downforce when they spin. Like there's this weird downforce straight downward that is being caused. Which I don't understand completely, but that is how that is working. That's why the car like sometimes noses down. That might be better. Getting it's pretty centered. It's pretty centered. We might have the rear slide out. So yeah, let's move it a little forward by getting rid of that. We'll try that. Oh yes, yes. The two halves are not connected. There's no actual thing connecting these two things. As far as the wings go, let's keep that over the wheels like that. Yeah, I think that helps a little bit. Having downforce on the sides. Yeah, that's clean. It jiggles when you go really fast, though. Yeah, that jiggle is definitely still happening. The jiggle started... The jiggle only happens when I, like, really crank the engine. Yeah, and we're getting oversteer, so we need some type of weight closer to the front. Thankfully, we can just do something like this, I think. Yeah. Let's bring the center of mass forward a little bit more. Because when the back slides out like that, it means that you have too much weight behind the center of mass. And the the rear wheels need to be turnable as well. Yeah, when I don't go full throttle, like when I go 90% throttle, we're in the clear. If you go 100% throttle, it starts to jiggle. Why it jiggles? I think it's just the raw torque of having 3 planetary gears in a row, making something spin that fast. There's something janking out with the way it's calculating the... I'm not even a good driver, but this thing just feels very good to drive. The braking, the acceleration, the turning. I could make the rear wheels turnable. Let's probably do that. Yeah. But yeah, when I turn it all the way up, when I go full throttle, it starts janking out. Now, is that a problem? No, because already if you go 90% throttle, you're accelerating like a madman. Anyway. So as to how to fix that, that's like some core thing in the game that I don't think I can work around. That's basically my summary. That's my summary of that issue. Yeah, the rear wheels being turnable absolutely increases our low end turning for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like we don't even need to be going that fast. And here's the thing. Here's another thing that I mentioned earlier about the traction control in the game. So the traction control stops you from accelerating while you're losing traction. Like if you're trying to slide with a drift vehicle and you're losing traction and you're trying to drift in a controlled drift, the game will actually limit your throttle. But when you're using a propeller, you don't actually get that. So you can actually create a drift vehicle by powering it with a propeller. But yeah, the rear wheels sliding out, I think we're gonna need, so where's the center of mass? The center of mass is, it could be brought forward a little bit more. I'm gonna use the 90s. Yeah, there we go. As for making the center of mass raise up, I don't think it matters. Yeah, that feels much better. And as far as the limitation goes on the top end for the throttle, you're basically limited by your ability to maintain like 90% throttle rather than 100%. Otherwise, like you're cooking. Like this thing can accelerate faster than anything else I've ever built, by far, by far. And it maintains traction very well. But this is 90%. This is 100. Yeah. It's just that little difference, and then you start losing control. But unfortunately, that's the limitation. Nice. I think we successfully overcame that bug by making it pass through the center. The fact that you can still get the rotors to turn by using an axis going into a hinge connector on the other side, which is completely static, by the way. If they patch this game, you're probably no longer going to be able to do this. Like let's be honest. This is not how this is meant to work, but we got it to work. And that's the important part. That is the important part. So as for this stream, we successfully, well, as for the Mayfly Mark III and the Jester, I'm not gonna worry about. I think as far as quadcopters in the game go, we're pretty much at the point where it's confirmed, like, if you want to make a quadcopter go over 200 kilometers an hour, good luck. Because the air resistance and the different forces that are acting on the quadcopter at above 150 kilometers an hour in the game start to act very strange and like unpredictable and undesirable. But yes, we did successfully take the Whirlwind Mark 1 and upgrade it to the Whirlwind Mark 2. That is a solid upgrade, and as far as I can tell, this is probably the best land vehicle I've ever made in the game in terms of performance. Completely unconventional compared to the flat top alpha meta. But it works and it's good and it's on the workshop. So if you've been enjoying my live streams, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will be on in the future. Thank you.